This might be the game in which Cowboys defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer sinks for his supper. What is up, everyone, and welcome into A to Z Sports Dallas Primetime. Let's jump straight into it. The Cowboys are playing the Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football, by the way. And with all of this talk that there has been around Cowboys Nation about Mike Zimmer potentially sticking around beyond 2024, whether or not Mike McCarthy returns as head coach has got me thinking in preparation to this game. Well, if he's going to convince us or if he's going to convince the Cowboys front office, it might be on Sunday versus Baker Mayfield's Bucs. Because let me tell you something, that offense is absolutely on fire. We're going to talk about some of the details here, but the Buccaneers just scored 40 points on the Chargers, which statistically have been a pretty decent defense. They went for over 500 yards despite turning the ball over twice. And here's the stat that I cannot wrap my head around. These Buccaneers offense has had 8 performances in which they've gone for over 400 yards. It is just absolutely insane what the Bucs are doing. And for a good chunk, I thought that we're just playing some. I honestly thought less of the Bucs that I am seeing on tape. I thought they were these wild card type team where they were rolling the dice a whole lot and where they really depended on third down because they've been pretty good on third down as well. And I thought, it's Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans trying to play superhero for an offense that isn't that good and an offensive line that isn't that good. But the more that I watch them, the more impressed that I am specifically with one man, and that is offensive coordinator Liam Cohen. Now, remember, Dave Canales went from Tampa Bay to the Carolina Panthers to be the head coach, and many people thought that it might affect Baker Mayfield and the offense because that was a significant loss. But the Buccaneers actually nailed the hiring of their replacement offensive coordinator by getting Liam in. And you guessed it. Yes, it's true. He's from the Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan tree, right? Specifically, Sean McVay. He spent 2018 and 2019 as assistant wide receiver coach for the Rams. He was, I don't know if promoted is the word because it was more of a lateral move. He moved to quarterbacks, but he was still an assistant in that area. And then now he's an offensive coordinator in the NFL after a brief stint in college. But this offense, this Buccaneers offense, and what the Cowboys are up against on Sunday is just honestly someone that you can perceive that he's coming into these games with strong game plans to attack your weaknesses. Take the Chargers game, for example. The Chargers went out there and they were playing a lot of too high coverages. Baker Mayfield and the Bucs were ready to attack the middle of the field. But you also see them take sideline shots whenever it's single high on the other side. So you're seeing them find these counters to everything that the defense shows them. And I'll just give you some numbers here very quickly. They're 5th in EPA per play, and they're good whether you're talking about drop back efficiency or whether you're talking about running efficiency. Here's the thing that blows me away, though. The offensive line looks pretty decent. And a large chunk of the Buccaneers offense, it seems to me, is that they're running the ball well with Bucky Irving, with Rashad White, but they're doing so in so many different ways. They run zone, and they're good at zone, and specifically, you can see these linemen getting to the second level. The Cowboys are going to have a plan to deal with this offensive line climbing to the second level, by the way. But mostly, what the Cowboys and Mike Zimmer's unit will have to be ready for is the gap stuff. Because the Bucs and Liam Cohen, they'll do some wild stuff, honestly. They'll get their tight ends heavily involved in the running game, and they can go heavy on you, by the way. You can see the Bucs line up in 22 personnel, 21 personnel, and they can also run out of the shotgun, and they can also have Baker Mayfield on their center and ask him to throw. That's beside the point right now. You'll see the tight ends heavily involved. You see the fullback heavily involved, and you'll see some shenanigans, honestly, where they're sending somebody into motion and they're just going to do stuff like, for example, ask the tight end to fake a block to the tight end before going directly to the second level, leaving the defensive end unblocked. But then here comes a pulling guard from the backside of the play where he's going to end up sealing the edge and take the end man of the line of scrimmage, the defensive end. Or they're going to do some stuff, and this one was weird to me, where they're running to the right side, for example, and let's say that's the strong side. They'll ask the center to pull to the backside and get that defensive end. They'll just do some weird stuff, honestly. They'll run out of the shotgun and ask the center to get the 3 technique, while the guard that is supposed to block the 3 technique usually goes behind him so he can have a clear path to the Mike linebacker and get to the second level without the Mike expecting it while the Mike is running downhill. That is just some of the examples of what you see from this Buccaneers offense. And I'm not trying to rant here or just ramble about potential plays that the Cowboys might see. I'm trying to say the Cowboys better be ready for some weird stuff. Now, they're going to have to be aggressive at the point of attack, but the linebackers, Eric Kendricks and Maurice Leafau, they'll have to be ready for some misdirection. Now, when I say misdirection, I'm not talking about just the motion stuff like that is very common with the Kyle Shanahan style of offense and the Sean McVay style of offense, but I'm talking about counter. I'm talking about these weird pulling from the guards and center that we'll see, right? And I'm talking about arc blocks, again, where the tight end is selling the block to the defensive end before getting to the second level unblocked. That kind of stuff. Honestly, they're pretty good. I'm very impressed by all of their running game. And I think, and I was making the exercise of trying to look over the schedule and try to think of what is the last truthfully dangerous rushing offense that the Cowboys have faced. And I think the Bucs are the most dangerous they've faced since week 10 in the Philadelphia Eagles. The Bengals are a great offense, but I don't think their success comes from running the football. In fact, they're the most aggressive passing team, and by a wide margin, the Bengals are. So I wouldn't say them. The Houston Texans, even though they ran very well on the Cowboys, that is not their strength. That is absolutely not their strength. They've actually have been some of the worst teams in the NFL running the ball. I wouldn't say the Giants have any strength, so obviously it's not them either. Commanders, you could make an argument that the Commanders are a team to be reckoned with, just offensively in general. But, man, the Bucs are, I think, a top 4 opponent for the Cowboys in terms of running the football. And if we think back to the struggles from this defense early in the season, that was it. Like, that was what they couldn't do. They always could rush the passer, and they're still one of the best teams in the NFL rushing the passer, but they couldn't get themselves in situations to do that because they were being ran on again and again and again. Now, don't get me wrong. Baker Mayfield can throw on these Cowboys defense, especially with Trevon Diggs out for the year and with the struggles that you've seen from the depth at cornerback for Dallas. And Mike Evans is pretty good. I would take him in this matchup to go for quite a few yards. However, if you don't stop the run, it's ball game, I think, on this one. And it's going to be a good challenge for Mike Zimmer and company. So, as I said, man, Maurice Leafau, obviously, Eric Kendricks going to be a big factor in this game. And then there's obviously the defensive front, right, with Ozo Digisuwa and all of that. That is going to be a good matchup, I think. Micah Parsons wrecking havoc when he gets the opportunity. But it all comes down for me to what's the plan, what is the reaction for Cowboys defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer on this one. Because you're facing a very dangerous play caller. You're facing a very dangerous offense. And we've been talking about, hey, he's done a good job versus the Bengals. He's done a good job versus the Commanders. Maybe Mike Zimmer should stick around. And maybe so. Maybe that is the right decision to make for the Cowboys at defensive coordinator. But you know what? I think this might be the game where I would ask him to prove it. Where I would be, okay, Zimmer, what do you got? And show that to us against a top 5 EPA per play offense in the NFL that is rolling right now. Now, to be fair, his defense is banged up, and I think you're going to have to face some mismatches as far as the passing game goes. And by the way, something that I kind of didn't dive deep into in my rant here today. You see so many throws, so many of them to wide open receivers. And you see them have answers to zone coverage. You see them have answers to man coverage. One of the touchdowns to Jalen McMillan, who is killing it right now for the Bucs versus the Chargers, comes from a bunch formation where they run this man ID motion to try to make sure the defense is running man coverage. And then you kind of see the safeties are going to rotate pre-snap because of the formation and how they're set up, and they're showing man coverage from the start. And they run basically a pick play where the receiver who is the farthest or the closest to the line of scrimmage, right, as opposed to the sideline, goes underneath the number 2 receiver, the number 1 receiver on a wheel route, and he's just wide open. Kind of like, do you remember that play Trevon Diggs gave up against who? Oh, man, what a game was that? I think it was against the Falcons. Yeah, it was the game where the Cowboys lost Dak Prescott in, and they had like this play where they had a miscommunication. Well, it looked like that without the miscommunication. So he was wide open, even though the Chargers didn't mess it up, other than they were just bitten, and the Bucs had the perfect bidder for that situation in store. And I know I'm just talking about random plays, but I don't want you to walk away from this thinking, well, big deal. They have some cool concepts. What I mean here is they have something for everything. And that's what's dangerous about them. And that's why I'm excited about this coaching matchup between Zimmer and Cohen. I do think the Cowboys' biggest chance of stopping the Bucs will have to be all about rushing the passer, because I do think there are some opportunities there. I think you can attack their left guard. I think you can attack their center, who, by the way, it's Barton, right? From Graham Barton from Duke. And I mentioned him specifically because I know Cowboys Nation wanted him in the NFL draft. He's had some ups and downs. He's been decent in my view. I was surprised at the fact that he was rated 40 out of 42 centers by PFF. I'm not sure that tells the reality of who Graham Barton is, but he's playing well. And I think you can attack him. You can attack the left guard. You got to stay. I would argue you don't want Micah Parsons on Tristan Wirfs. He might handle him, and it might be such a fun matchup to watch. But if your objective is to get Micah on their weakest link, I think you got to go left guard. I think you got to go center and maybe run some twists on them, try to challenge data communication. It's going to be a fun matchup, man, between the Cowboys and the Bucs, and those are my early thoughts on the Cowboys defense. I think if Mike Zimmer is going to convince us of sticking around, this is a great game to convince us of that, because it's going to be a huge play caller matchup. So if you enjoyed the show, make sure that you hit the like button for me, and I'll see you again tomorrow live at 8 p.m. Central. Catch you on Thursday. Bye-bye.